Hey everyone, I finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, Grimlord's Challenge. This one starts off with the troopers going around on roller skates. Jeb is with them. Jeb's actually pretty major part throughout this episode. So I'm thinking from this point on, he'll probably be uh, like a central character like the other troopers. Earlier in the other episodes, he wasn't really there a whole lot. He felt like he was added in later, which is just an interesting thing I noticed. So anyway, the civilian plot of this episode is this police officer that Ryan knows has this troubled girl who is going to be sent to reform school if she doesn't learn to behave herself, I guess. So she wants Ryan to teach her karate, and if within the next couple of weeks she manages to win anything, she doesn't have to go to reform school, and the police will donate $1,000 to the dojo. Okay, so decent setup for a civilian plot. So meanwhile, Grimlord sets up a competition among his warriors, determined who will be the next to challenge Ryan Steele because he overheard the uh, conversation between Ryan and the policewoman about there was a karate competition coming up, and the girl Randy, if she can win the competition, that or if yeah she can win like an award in the competition potentially. So that's what gives Grimlord the idea to have his own competition between a bunch of his warriors. We don't see much of that. It's a really weak connection, just like the last couple of episodes. That's the biggest problem of VR Troopers is they're decent episodes, but they try way too hard to connect the civilian plots to the superhero plot, and most of the time I just don't think it's necessary. Like I don't think we need a B plot that connects like that. I feel like it's enough that the VR troopers in their civilian lives are dealing with their own problems, their own hobbies and whatever, and then also there's the superhero stuff. I don't think every episode needed to have like some kind of parallel plot going on, especially since they never focus on the civilian plot. It's just here's the setup for it, then there's a conclusion, but we don't see any of the development in the middle. And it's the same way here. Randy goes to Tao Dojo, and we see her interact with Tao more than Ryan. We never see Ryan, like, teaching her or anything. So, anyway, moving on. Caitlin plans on writing an article on Randy. That doesn't really go anywhere either. We have a fun little bit with Caitlin going to see Woody at the newspaper place and telling him about the article she wants to write, and Jeb eats this tower of cookies that Woody was making. It's a cute little scene, doesn't really mean anything. Oh, and also there's a weird thing with Grimlord when he talks to his monsters about having a competition between them to see who will fight Ryan Steele. He doesn't say JB or Caitlin, so I guess he's not worried about them. Jerk. So then, at the park, one of Grimlord's Scugs is in disguise and comes over to give Ryan a message from Grimlord. And she tells him about Grimlord is holding a competition of his monsters. The winner will fight you. And then it turns into a Scug and multiplies, and there's a little brief scuffle. And, that's that. Didn't accomplish much, but whatever. So anyway, in virtual reality, Hammerbot wins Grimlord's competition, and he goes to fight Ryan. And then at Hart's lab, JB intercepts a transmission between Ivar and Icebot, saying that they're launching their own assault while Ryan fights Hammerbot. So the troopers split up. Didn't see that coming. So then Ryan battles Hammerbot, JB faces this other monster whose name I don't remember, Spider or something or other, and Caitlin pilots the airship because she's not in the Spielbahn footage, I guess. JB defeats his monster, Caitlin takes out the airborne enemies, leaving Ryan to defeat Hammerbot, all by himself. They know that. They don't go to help him. Whoops. It's kind of weird they don't even, like, say, we're coming to help you, Ryan, or something, and then, like, Ryan defeats the monster, then they'll have some American footage of the American suits interacting or something. We don't get any of that, so anyway, stuff on my notes here. Let's see. Ryan defeats Hammerbot and then lets him go after Hammerbot, begs for his life, which feels like something that had way more weight in Metalder than it did here. VR Troopers isn't really the place for, like, really deep storytelling or anything. That definitely feels more in, like, 80s Toei Metal Heroes. So anyway, they defeat the monsters, they go back to the dojo, and we cut to Randy is participating in the karate competition. And at first she's not doing well, but then she manages to win after keeping focus or something. I don't know. Anyway, she wins, and the Tao Dojo gets the $1,000 check, and she doesn't have to go to reform school. Happy ending. It's a standard episode, but it's a decent episode. The only problem, really, with it is that the plots don't really connect. But it's really trying to force a connection where it really isn't necessary. And Grimlord's plans are getting really stupid. His plans basically amount to, what are the VR Troopers doing? Oh, they're doing this. Well, I'll do that too, kind of. And he takes some kind of extremely vague motivation from what the Troopers are doing and then sends out a random monster that doesn't even usually have a connection to whatever's going on. And this made me think about, in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, how good it was that Ranger was one of the first seasons that they adapted, because so many of the monsters have such a clear theme to them. There's a few that are really weird and far out there, but for the most part, the monsters in Rangers had a clear theme to them. They had a pretty easy to figure out motivation for them and like what they were doing. So Power Rangers was able to adapt that into fairly simple stories, and it helped Power Rangers to really take off because keeping the stories simple was what they really needed. If the stories were a little too complex, Mighty Morphin would really struggle with that. And with Metal Heroes, a lot of the monsters don't usually have a theme. In Metal Heroes, what I have seen of it, I haven't watched Metalder in years. I only saw like a few episodes, I think. Anyway, from what I remember of Metal Heroes, the monsters wouldn't, or robots, whatever they're fighting, it's not a theme they would have. They would have some kind of ability that the Metal Hero character would have to find some way to overcome. Like, there's some kind of limitation the monster puts on what they can do, and they have to find some clever way around that. And that's a cool, like, way to do a story, but it's a little advanced for VR Troopers. So I think that they really struggle with that. Also, most of the episodes, I'm assuming, aren't direct translations. Maybe there's some vague inspiration taken from the Metal Heroes episode. So, not a whole lot to say about this one. This one, it's an extremely basic episode. What's the next episode? Computer Captive. Oh, I think I remember that one. I think that's a good one. Oh well, looking forward to that. Hope you enjoyed this. See ya.